We can do better than that. Welcome back, BlumFest! Halloween Kills, wasn't that something? Please, People's Republic of BlumFest and those viewers at home for BlumFest, join me in welcoming to the stage director David Gordon Green and producer Jason Blum. Welcome. So I just want to, there's a few, this one's a little bit different because we're going out to a lot of people at home. So when I throw questions for you to ask, please no spoilers, and that goes for you guys too. No spoilers, so the people at home do not have their experience ruined. I'll remind us again when we get to that point, but I wanted to say it at the beginning. So welcome, and thank you so much for coming to join us. What an amazing film. Can we start a little bit about, after Halloween, how did you decide you wanted to follow it? How did this come about? Did you start with like an arc that you knew exactly where you wanted to go?
No, I never know what I'm going to do tomorrow. But once we kind of felt secure in the success of the first film, we just started talking about ideas and brought on our co-writer Scott Teams, who's here. Scott, say hello.
Scott Teams.
Initially, when Jason approached us with the project, we had so many ideas, and we at one point had talked about doing 2 movies at once, which we thought was insanity, so we didn't do that. But we had Danny McBride and Jeff Radley and then Scott, and we started brainstorming ideas, and then put together an arc for 2 more films. So. Our Halloween 2018, Halloween Kills, and then next year will be Halloween Ends. So we kind of have got a full arc sculpted now, and we'll see how it goes, but I'm sure it'll evolve as we start rolling cameras.
That's amazing. Jason, let me ask you, how does it feel to be making a new Halloween trilogy effectively happen? You've done an amazing number of genre films. You're a real champion of talent.
It felt great. It feels almost as good as being in a theater with people. It's so awesome. I love it. This is a beautiful theater too. I hadn't seen it before. It felt really. It's really fun to work on something that everyone is very cynical about. Before David's the first iteration of the Halloween movie, there had been a lot of Halloweens that people had mixed feelings about, besides John Carpenter's, which everybody loved, of course. And so I was excited about the challenge of trying to do something that would reinvigorate people's excitement about it and make people less cynical about it. And I had my job was very complicated, which was handing the reins over to David Gordon Green, and he did that job for us.
David, I don't think I'm alone when I say the kills in this film are amazing. How did you guys come up with those? Is it in the writing process, or did you have like a special let's design the kill session?
There's a lot of people that have a lot, you try to be discreet or subtle sometimes, and then when you get into filming it and it just looks so delicious, then it's hard to edit it out when you have it there. So, but the intention is to be subtle. It didn't work on this one. But it is a combination between everyone from our writers, of course, to our makeup artist Chris Nelson, who's amazing and has seen every movie, and always pushing the boundaries of what we can do practically. There's very little that isn't of the kills that's not a literal on-set blood gag. So it's just amazing. But then, our production designer, Richard Wright, and our sound mixer, Chris Gebert, everybody adds ideas and comes up with a creative new way, something we haven't seen before. And it's just really fun. And it's hard, too. It's really difficult because with a schedule this tight, it's you get 2 shots, maybe, usually 1, because it's an hour and a half to reset it all, and everybody takes a lot of time to get it set, so you can put 2 cameras on it, film it once, and hope it works. And sometimes it doesn't. Or sometimes it goes crazy, like his eyeballs pop out of his head, and you're like, well, maybe we should use that.
We always tell our filmmakers it's much better to not show, what you can imagine is always is scarier than what you can show, except for Halloween.
Well, they match the best of the 80s as far as I'm concerned. I was squirming, so, congratulations. Jason, how do you feel about this film coming to the theaters? Like, it's been quite a year, and it must be...
I've never had the experience. I mean, you never have either, where you have a movie, it's all ready to go, and then it doesn't happen, and so you're sitting on it, and everyone on Twitter is like, "Where's Halloween?" So it's great for people finally are going to get to see it, and get to see it obviously here a couple more times, and then out in the world in a couple of weeks. So it feels fantastic. It feels great, and it's going to be appreciated in the way it should be appreciated. I'm very glad that we waited. There was a big question of should we wait or not wait, and I'm really glad that we did.
Yeah, and you sat in on the film with this audience. That must have been quite, like being able to see it with an audience.
Yeah, it's you really miss it. It's something that I personally definitely took for granted. I used to, before COVID, I lived across the street from a movie theater, and I saw the way I would see movies was always in this theater, and it's just something that I definitely took for granted. I never will for the rest of my life. I'm going to feel different about going to the movies for the rest of my life because it's this special thing that I never thought of as special. I just assumed it would always take place. So in that sense, that's kind of nice. And yeah, there's nothing like showing a movie in a movie theater with a lot of people, and especially scary movies. Horror movies they're just not as fun at home. It's just not the same thing.
I think I'd agree. Would you agree, People's Republic? So I'm now going to start asking some of the questions from the online crowd. I don't usually get my phone out, but just so I know the questions that I have. The first one is actually, you might know this person. It's at Andi Matichak. And the question is, how freaking cool is Andi Matichak?
It's really fun working with Andi, who plays Allison in the movie. I had auditioned her for a project a year, in the early stages of Jason and I talking about making this come together. I'd auditioned her for something, and the audition went something like this: "You're not right for this, but let's hang on to you for Halloween." And then literally a year later, I'd never even met her, but I'd just seen an audition tape, and something about that struck me in a way that she felt of the lore and the legacy that was right for this. And so it was awesome to see, her interpretation of the character when it came fully realized, to realize that there is some sort of cosmic energy that can plant seeds early in the game in a different process, in another sense of, in another arena entirely, and then come to fruition here. So it's wonderful working with her.
Yeah. If she's watching this at home, I'm sure she's very pleased with your answer. Next one's from at Dangerford, and I want to know this one too, and this is for both of you. Which snack do you think is going to go best with watching Halloween Kills at the theater?
Fingernails?
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
Next one's from Mr. Grillo. What was the most challenging aspect of creating and writing this new Halloween trilogy? And we'll add producing to that as well.
From a writing standpoint, it's tricky because I felt compelled to have, it's not really a cliffhanger ending, but something that's a middle chapter that it needs to be satisfying in its own in its own chapter, but leave you wanting more. And so that's the hardest thing: is can I give an audience enough substance so that we think we've got more seeds that are driving us toward a finale? The trick is how do we end it? Where does it go? But for the middle chapter, can I leave people satisfied but yet wanting more?
And Jason?
From the producing side, a producer's job is many things, but most of all, it's getting people to work together. And when you're coming into a party that's already happened for a long time, which started 40 years ago, there are a lot of people involved with a lot of different opinions and understandably a lot of emotion around it. So definitely very, very different than doing an original or even a sequel of one of our originals. The most complicated thing is getting everyone kind of marching towards the same goal and feeling good about it, because if people aren't feeling good about it, they're not going to do good work, and that was the hardest thing. But I think for the most part we achieved that, and we got John Carpenter to feel good about it, and Jamie Lee Curtis and Malik and Miramax, and there were a lot of voices. So that was the most challenging part.
That totally makes sense. This one's from Dali Liam, and it's a two-parter. It's a question for Jason. For your movies, how do you find great talented directors like David Gordon Green? And for David is, what was it like approaching a legendary franchise like Halloween? And what was it like working with Jamie Lee Curtis?
I'll go first. It's amazing. I mean, a title like this is obviously very intimidating, and as before the show, that provocative letter was exposed. But it was like a physical feeling because of what the original film meant to me in my childhood, and it disturbed the fuck out of me, and I wanted to make sure that I did something that that was appreciative of that heritage, but also had my own signature, because I want that as well. So, and then having the collaboration of Jamie Lee, which is amazing and a wonderful, as you saw on screen and on stage, compelling force of nature, charming, fun, motivational, brave, and John Carpenter, who's very challenging and supportive and inspiring in so many ways. And so having those legacy realities of their voices in the mix just made it a pleasure.
How we pick talent? Well, this doesn't apply to David, because David, I feel like every movie that David made has been compelling and interesting. But we do choose, generally, you're the exception, but generally we do choose directors a little bit different than Hollywood chooses directors, which is we look at their whole body of work. And I think Hollywood is very focused, for reasons that are probably boring and uninteresting to go into here, but there are reasons for it, on the director's last movie. And we've always looked at we never have done that. We've never looked at we always look at the whole body of work, and that distinguishes us from choosing directors, and that's not how most directors are chosen in Hollywood.
And I think it shows in the films you produce. So next one is from Elwood W. And the question is for both of you again, are there any props you kept from the films?
I have a lot of them, but my favorite one that comes to mind is I have the bloody hospital bracelet that Jamie Lee wears in the movie. And
that's amazing.
That's kind of a sacred treasure box gift that I have.
And for you, Jason, have you?
Any props?
Yeah.
From Halloween or from any film?
Well, we can extend it to any film.
The axe from Sinister is in my office, which I really like. I really like that, and I use it from time to time.
Such a great film as well. I'm going to ask one more of these, and then I'm going to throw it open to you guys. So get thinking. This is from Melt to the Pain. Sorry, I stumbled because these names I've not seen before. So, have you ever had any personal paranormal experiences?
I can go. I had one. I've only had one. A long time ago, almost 30 years ago, 28 years ago, I lived, my second apartment in New York City was on Crosby Street, and this was long before Crosby Street was chic, and it was a storefront. So there was a front and the back of the store and a basement down to a storeroom. And there were three of us. One lived in the front, one lived in the back, and I lived in the basement, which you couldn't stand up in. It was a nasty, it was gross, this place. Anyway, I was in my bed, and this wasn't, I was in my bed. There's not a lot to this story, but I definitely saw a ghost. It wasn't a dream. There was a person holding another person at the foot of my bed. They weren't mean, they weren't nice, but they were there, and it was a very real experience, and that was it. And they disappeared, and I'm convinced it was a ghost, but and that's the only one I've ever had.
Did you ever think about turning that into a series of films as well?
Called Paranormal Activity? No, I should have. Oren Peli did that. I should have put a camera on my bed, but I didn't think of it.
I've had a number of them, but recently I've gone back to a location that 15 years ago I had the first of several, but where I was with two friends, sober, and a blue light came very fast and very straight. It was about the size of a football, and then expanded and just hung out in front of us, and it was very cold and had a little ring to it. It just hung out for about 8 seconds and then dissipated. And so now I'm back in that same area, and I've talked to people. I hadn't been there in 15 years, and people say, yeah, there's these essence lights that will show up and come and visit you and give you a sensation of some sort. And so I don't know what it is, but it was weird.
Wow. Right, so I'm going to throw it open to you guys to ask questions. When you ask a question, I have to repeat it so people at home can hear the question as well. And make it good. If it's not, I'm going to cut you down, and I'm going to take another one from online. So it's brutal today. Yes?
When you were teasing this movie, you talked a lot about mob justice. That was kind of the hint. Can you give us any kind of similar tease or hint for Halloween Ends?
I don't think I have to repeat it if there's a mic, right? So we're good. So you can answer.
It's so tricky to not spoil it because I'm just at the prep phase of it, and I don't want to give too much, but I love the idea of giving something kind of alluring. Yeah, I'm going to have to chew on that one. I might come back.
We'll come back to that later.
Right there.
So this is for David Gordon Green. No other Halloween director has ever gotten past 2 movies, and you're on the precipice of doing 3. And I was just wondering how you feel about, possibly becoming the face of the franchise moving forward.
Well, it's amazing. It's just a wonderful sandbox, and to be able to bring, talking about other directors like Rick Rosenthal, but bringing Nancy Stevens, his wife into the fold here, and Charles Cyphers. I mean, it's just awesome to have those characters kind of again fulfilling some sort of childhood dream I've had, and then to be able to detour off into my own arcs and interests. And the third film is actually a really personal one for me to have written, and it touches some sentiment and 80s nostalgia from my youth, and so it's almost a coming of age movie in a strange way. So it's been a fun journey to take someone else's creation of Deborah Hill and John created these characters and realize them, and then I'm able to invite some of them to play and evolve and change and then bring some new ones into the mix. So it's just, and I get to tell the boogeyman what to do rather than him show up in my dreams and scare the shit out of me.
Right there. This one on the left.
First of all, thank you for the Halloween 3 reference. That made my day and made the whole screening worth every dollar.
Remember, no spoilers.
Was that a spoiler?
No, but just be careful.
I'm sorry. Well, I loved all the new characters in this one. I was wondering if there were characters you were going to play around with from other classic Halloween films like Dr. Mixter or whatnot for any future movies, or Busta Rhymes, or... and can we get a Ben Tramer spinoff, please?
I literally said to Ryan Turek the other day, should Busta Rhymes be in the next one?
I think that's a yes from the room.
This one I think was full of a lot of that that fan fulfillment for me in so many ways. The next one I'm trying to think. I think there's some little tidbits, but it's nothing overt or excitingly realized. It's kind of a wash of the world that we've established here, and then some new faces and voices that take center stage alongside.
Why don't we go right here? Oh, if you just hold on for 1 sec.
as a big fan of the franchise from the beginning till now and looking forward to the next, I just wanted to know what are the most challenging scenes, without giving anything away, because I wanted to ask specifically, but just what are the most challenging scenes while shooting this film? Is it more of the action, more of the dialogue, more of the killings, more of the blood, you know, and how do you come up with all these crazy effing movies that are so awesome? You know, I love it. I'm such a huge fan of scary movies, and all of them, like, I watch them on the plane mostly because I know nothing's gonna get me there, and I don't have to check everything under the bed and closets.
In terms of the challenges, I feel like I'm usually very prepared for either the technical or the performance, and there's always a curveball in one or the other of them on every scene. So when you're trying to juggle the reality of a kill scene, or making sure that the effect looks real, sometimes I get so caught up in that I neglect to give the actors attention and performance attention, or sometimes I've come in so rehearsed that then how to shoot the gag so that the lighting is just right, it's hard to, the Michael Myers mask it only works in certain angles and certain lighting environments. So sometimes you'll get so caught up in dialogue that you'll think, oh wait, but then the mask is not getting the love it needs by the lighting department. And so it's just kind of juggling all of those technical, there's no scene in this movie that's just two people talking in a room. So it gets very challenging trying to figure out where to prioritize. Is it in the atmosphere? Is it in the technical? Is it in the emotional?
How do we come up with our crazy movies? We don't come up with them, or the artists that we work with come up with them, but we have a pretty specific kind of system that we use to attract those artists. And I was thinking as you asked the question, my usual answer is, well, we have low budgets, and you have low budgets, you have creative freedom. When we have creative freedom, give directors final cut, you can take chances, and all that stuff is true. But I also think the kind of culture of the company, I think people in Hollywood were guilty of taking ourselves too seriously, and I really tried to have fun, and I try to have all the people who work at the company have fun. We all love movies. I think also Hollywood is guilty. There are a lot of people, a lot of people in the movie business who don't really love movies, which creates not good movies. So all the low budget stuff, that's true. But also I think that we really like to have fun and take chances and try new things. And I think that fosters an environment where we attract artists who want to do the same.
And I would chime in on that too. It's just not only does the executives at Blumhouse, they're sometimes you'll write a script and you're like, oh great, here come the notes. I'll really bug these guys. I was like, can you turn these notes around quick? I can't wait. So having that type of enthusiasm as a writer for the brains in the office, and then the other minds of directors, and everybody is kind of accessible, because it does become kind of a cool clubhouse in that way, and it's just it's very valuable for the collaboration, in my opinion, just because everybody brings their own emotional baggage in different films that they reference and things like that. So having all those conversations is much of that feeding my creative energy is just really, really valuable to me.
Sounds amazing. Place to work. We'll take a couple more. How about here? But you gotta wait a second.
Hi, I actually have a question for David Gordon Green from a mutual friend of ours, Mr. Heath Michaels. He informed me that I should be asking you about George Smith. He said that would get quite a ride out of you.
George Smith is one of my best friends from college, one of the greatest writers. I haven't talked to him in a while, but hope he's doing well. Good, and hello to Heath.
Okay, we'll take another one. How about that?
So, as much as I love slasher films, the characters are often two-dimensional, and the characters in both of these so far, even if they only have a scene for like a minute or two, right as we meet them, they automatically seem like so lived in. They seem like such real people that we like immediately before you like brutally have them murdered. How much of that detail of those characters is kind of toiled over in the script, or how much of it is kind of brought to life in the moment on the set with the actors, kind of filling in a lot of the details?
Great question, and it's all different. Like Diva Tyler, who's in the film, she's the woman playing the drone early in the film, who's amazing. But she's just an actress I've worked with numerous times, and she was she's the cemetery caretaker in the previous 2018 film. And so she has a little walk-on part in that movie, and I think, what would Diva do in this movie? And then we explore things from there. So a lot of it is her idea. And what's a weird thing that she could be doing in her living room? Well, how about playing with a drone? Or the other two, Carmilla and Michael, two couples that we saw. That was another kind of a walk-on role. In the first one, they were just so charming and wonderful that I come up with ideas, and I went to them with a fully realized script and said, I've written these roles for you guys. That are more significant than they were the last time around. Would you guys want to come and play? And so sometimes it's just those little notes of inspiration that I have, and other times you get to set and you. In 2018, there's a young man that is driving with his father, and they run into a roadside of activities, and that was that young man, and that was his story. And so I had something written that wasn't that, and then I just applied it to be more meaningful to that young actor, and then it translates to a character that feels more lived in, and for me, more satisfying.
So I'm going to turn up the pressure. I'm going to take one more
we
question.
got Michael Myers over there.
Michael
has got a
Myers
question.
mask, right there. Yeah. Hey, can't miss it. It's coming to you.
Hello. So that kill count was insane. I think I lost count at some point. So do you guys preemptively decide, like, all right, in the first one we killed like 12 people, in the second one we're going to kill 20, and the third one we're going to kill 30? Like, do you guys already like decide in your head, like, this is how many people we're going to kill?
You got to hit 38 on this one. Brain.
It's the sickos that count it. But once we were called Halloween Kills, I thought that's we had to deliver, right? Yeah.
All right, last question. It has to be really good. You're really confident, but okay, 2 hands up there. I gotta give it to you, and no spoilers. Is there a mic going? Right there.
Okay, so there are like 87 Halloween movies, and you are the first person to bring back Kyle Richards, Nancy Stevens, Charles Cyphers, which, by the way, thank you. I think so many of us have wondered for so long what happened to those characters, so it was really lovely to see them again and in this setting. So my question to you is, why do you think nobody else did it? Because they should have. And secondly, was that something that was in the mix from the get-go, or how early along did you decide that you wanted to do that?
Early on, we just kind of were looking back at the original film, thinking, who are we curious about? And then once we had curiosity about it, we started playing with story ideas for characters. And then once we had characters that we liked, we, reached out to see who would either be interested or willing or capable of returning to these provocative characters. And so it was just kind of all of that. It was just conversations of who and how to work these legacy characters in creatively.
So final question is going to be for our online friends for BlumFest. And it's very simple, and it's for both of you. It's from Adam Newstead 50. How would you describe Halloween Kills in 3 words?
Really fucking intense.
Evil dies tonight.
Yay! And with that, please join me in thanking producer Jason Blum and director David Gordon Green for Halloween Kills.